الحمد لله وحده وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على من لا نبي بعده وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. And continuing with reading from the words of the scholars, the senior scholars of this era and of the last generation, in explaining this phenomenon of the widespread of dayyuth, the widespread of lack and the absence of ghayrah, or a rarity of ghayrah, and their protectiveness for one's religion and for his community and for his womenfolk and the other affairs that is mandatory to have protectiveness and jealousy for. And in particular in this regard, and mentioning this kabira min kaba'ir al-dhunub, this major sin that is mentioned by al-Imam al-Dhahabi rahimahullah ta'ala as regards one's woman, his maharim, and those that he is responsible for. We have the statement of the Lajnatul Da'ima during the Riyasa, the leadership of the Shaykh Abdul Aziz ibn Abdullah ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, at a time when the likes of the great Imam Shaykh Abdul Razak al-Afifi and Abdullah al-Ghudayan and others, may Allah have mercy upon them all, were alive, and upon the Lajna, upon the permanent committee. They were asked a detailed question about the various ahadith and the wordings of the ahadith between that which is authentic and that which is inauthentic, concerning the definition of the dayyuth of the man who has no protectiveness and jealousy for his womenfolk. And they responded, وَعَلَى هَذَا فَمَنْ نَظَرَ, part of their response, he said, or they said, وَعَلَى هَذَا فَمَنْ نَظَرَ إِلَى مَا جَاءَ فِي الرِّوَايَةِ الْأُولَى أطلق كلمة الديوث على كل من أقر الخبث في كل من له ولاية عليه في كل من له ولاية عليه. He said, when we look at all the narrations and what is authentic and what is inauthentic from them, then the word dayyuth was applied to every person. الديوث الذي يقر في أهله الخبث. And the dayyuth is the one who allows khubuth to occur with his ahl, with his family, and for reprehensible, disgusting, repugnant acts to occur with his womenfolk. They say because it was mentioned in this way, there is the one who approves of khubuth coming from their womenfolk. They said that it is for every person that approves of this, في كل من له ولاية عليه, concerning any person that they are responsible for, any person that they have guardianship over. As comes in the hadith in Sahih Muslim, with the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, ما من عبد يستريعه الله رعية يموت يوم يموت وهو غاش لرعيته إلا حرم الله عليه الجنة. That there is no mu'min, or there is no abd, rather, there is no slave of Allah tabarak wa ta'ala who is given ri'ayah, who is given guardianship and responsibility, and is made a shepherd over anyone who dies in the day that they die while they are betraying their trust, except that Allah will forbid the paradise for them. So in this hadith we see that the dayyuth is from the three people, ثَلَاثَ لَا يَدْخُلُونَ الْجَنَّةِ, three people that are not going to enter the Jannah, meaning before receiving a grievous punishment from Allah, they are under the threat of a severe punishment from Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. And from them is such a person, and this is as regards not just his wife, but as regards his daughter, as the fatwa goes on to say, min zawjatihi wa bintihi wa ukhtihi, whether it be his daughter, whether it be his wife, whether it be his sister, wa nahwi dhalik, or anyone that is similar to that. سواء كان الخبث زنا أو وسائل إلى الزنا, and whether the khubuth is full-blown adultery and fornication and lewdness, or the things that lead to adultery and fornication. What leads to adultery and fornication? Intoxicants. Looking, mingling, music. So a person who allows his daughter to listen to music, wala yubali, he's sick of talking about it. He doesn't care anymore. And she's listening to music, that music that was much less than it. Ibn al-Qayyim, he said in Ighathat al-Ahfan about the lyrics of music in his time. He said, just the lyrics by themselves, and then if you was to add the different percussion, the beat and the instruments, the guitar and so on and so forth to it, he said that's the type of music that if it could cause a woman to become pregnant, that would be the music that would make a woman pregnant. And now music today is way different. And a person will be in traffic or be in a grocery store or somewhere, and they'll hear lyrics to something that they're not trying to hear. It just be of the most obscene nature, something that you can't begin to imagine. I mean, people having relations in the music, describing exactly everything about the act. So the person who is like that, does he fall under this threat or not? If Shaykh Uthaymeen, rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned about the hadith that we mentioned of Ma'qil ibn Yasar, that Ma'qil was so terrified to narrate because of the weightiness of the hadith that he didn't narrate until his deathbed. That there is no Muslim who dies in the day that they die, or they are betraying their trust except that Allah offers the paradise for them. And he said in multiple places, in his writings, in his khutab, in his fatawa, and so on and so forth, that this is applicable to a great degree to the Muslim who leaves behind alatul lahu. He leaves behind the instruments of false entertainment like the television and the satellite dish and so on and so forth in his home. Then what about this narration? It specifically mentions the dayyuth who has no ghayra over his family. He has no ghayra over his family. What are the most dangerous places? What are the most dangerous things to the youth? What are the things that are causing youth to fall into the things that they fall into? He said no guidance at home. And this is a point that we'll see in the words of Muhammad Amin al-Shinqiti and Shaykh al-Albani. This is the first thing that they mention. No tarbiyah. Public schools. Social media. What else? Television, entertainment industry, evil companions, so on and so forth, video games, a weak understanding of the religion. There's one thing I'm not hearing. You said public schools, the cell phone, all these sorts of things. The parent becomes a facilitator. The parent becomes a facilitator by giving their children access to things that they know are going to bring about their demise and their ruin. But there's one thing that the mashaykh, that the scholars, they mention here, two things that I haven't heard, particularly about daughters. Once they reach not marrying them off, work, sending to a free mixing workplace. It's not a pimp. The pimp is the one who, he doesn't care what the woman is doing so long as she's bringing the money home. She's bringing the money home. And so what's worse than that is the fathers that they don't want their daughters to get married because they say they need to do what first? They need to graduate college first. It has to be a law. Your daughter needs to go to college first. Graduate college before she gets married. Because she's too young. Right? Because she's too young. That's very destructive. So he said that the person who, or the Lajnat al-Da'imah, he said, whether this khubuth is adultery or the things that lead to fornication and adultery, all those things that you just heard. من كشف عورة أمام أجنبي وخلوة به. He says, such as exhibiting their awrah, showing their beauty in front of men that are not maharim to them. So the Muslim father, he takes his daughters to the mall. And he says, I'll pick you back up at 5:30. As soon as they walk in the front door, they rip their hijab off. And they rip their abaya off. They put it in their backpack. And the whole time they're in the mall, they're flirting, talking to boys, all sorts of things, meeting up with the worst of the people. My brother, he told me recently, that's why we need to have our own malls. That's why we need to educate our children. We barely keep our masajid open. We don't have the resources we need to even build schools like we need. I think things are more important. And people talking about we need to build malls for the Muslim youth. That's why we need to educate our children. That's why we need to teach them to have themselves jealousy for their religion, to value their religion, to choose the proper friends, and to love their family, and to love their progress, and to understand the consequences of certain actions, and the likes of these things. He said, so, if it is the act itself or the thing that leads to that act of adultery or fornication, such as not covering in front of foreign men, وَخَلْوَةٍ بِهِ, or being in privacy with them, وَتَطَيُّبٍ عِنْدَ الْخُرُوجِ, or putting on perfume when going outside of the home, or lotion or other things for that matter that have a fragrance to them. وَنَحُ ذَلِكَ مِمَّا يُثِيرُ الْفِتْنَةِ, and other than that, from the things that can excite and incite fitna. وَيُغْرِي بِالْفَاحِشَةِ, and then bring about temptation to fall into fahisha. مع العلم بأن سكوت الإنسان عن المنكر محرم. He said, while we know that it is forbidden for a person to be silent against a munkar, سواء كان في أهله أو في غيرهم, whether it is concerning his own family or other than them. إلا أن سكوته عن إنكاره في من ولاه الله أمرهم أشد نكرا وأعظم إثما. He said, but his being silent of making inkar against those that Allah Ta'ala has given him responsibility over is even more hideous, and it is an even greater sin that he doesn't speak against it. لِكَوْنِهِ وَلِيُّ أَمْرِهِمْ الْخَاص, because he is their particular wali al-amr. He is the one that is charged with authority over their affairs. He is charged with authority over their affairs. سواء سمي ذلك السكوت دياثة أم لم يسمى بذلك. Whether any person being silent is called by that person to be diyatha, or whether it is called something else, it is all the same. He doesn't have ghayrah for his family. فهو منكر على كل حال. This is something that is evil no matter what the situation, because of the ahadith and the ayat that are general that demonstrate this to us. There's a tremendous statement from Shaykh al-Islam Ibn al-Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala along these lines, where he talks about people confusing being silent with wisdom and kindness and mercy and so on and so forth, where they don't order the good and forbid the evil in their homes. And he mentions the ayat in the book of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, وَلَا تَأْخُذْكُمْ بِهِمَا رَأَفَةٌ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ, and do not be taken with compassion towards them concerning Allah's religion, concerning the man and the woman who are caught in the act of fornication, or the act of adultery, or what is worse than that. And if people fall into these sorts of acts that require the hudud, meaning in the lands of Islam under the Muslim authority, that it is something that would have them punished. It was something that would have them punished, have them lashed, or have them stoned and flogged, and these sorts of punishments. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, He said, do not be taken by ra'afah concerning them. Do not be taken by compassion, kindness towards them as regards the religion of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. He says something that is very relevant to the situation of many parents and even some husbands concerning their nonchalant attitude about the whereabouts of their family. and what they are involved in. He says, نهى الله تبارك وتعالى عما يأمره به الشيطان في العقوبات عموما وفي أمر الفواحش خصوصا. He says, Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, He has forbidden the people from that which the shaitan orders with concerning the punishments in general and the affair of al-fahisha in particular, of lewd acts of a sexual nature in particular, and how we are to feel about such things. This is not an Islamic authority to lash the back of a person. And we're not calling for that. We don't have a gauntlet in our masjid that's putting their hands on people and lashing people and these sorts of things. This is something that requires the legal Muslim authority in the lands of Islam. However, as Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah ta'ala, he said that which is forbidden in the lands of Islam is forbidden in the lands of kufr. The affair is still forbidden. You're not going to run from Allah, although the punishment may not have been placed upon you, and although your deed may not have been publicized and known and so on and so forth. As the Prophet ﷺ, he said, من وقع منكم في شيء من هذه القاذورات فليستتر بستر الله فإنه من يبدي لنا صفحاته أو صفحاته نقم عليه حد الله كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. That whoever of you falls into any of these filthy acts, and let him cover and conceal himself with Allah's concealment and not expose what they have done. For verily whoever exposes their sin to us, we are going to put the punishment of Allah upon that person. And so the person is ordered to conceal his act in general, umuman, and he doesn't broadcast it. This is from the plots of the shaitan, that a person fell into an act of munkar, and then they felt the need to tell somebody about it. It was heavy on their chest, and they became from those people about whom the Prophet ﷺ, he said, كُلُّ أُمَّتِي مُعَافَى إِلَّا الْمُجَاهِرِينَ, that all my nation will be pardoned for what they have done except for those who expose their sins. So the person exposed his own sins and the likes of these things. That's not what we're talking about. But we're talking about those things that are known. And those things that are known in the family, that are known by the parents, that are known by any people that can inform the parents of the likes of these behaviors, so that something can be done, some preventive measure can occur, some type of protective measures can be put into place to keep destructive behavior from reoccurring. And nobody says anything, and nobody does anything, and nobody cares. And it's like a thing كَأَنَّهُ لَمْ يَكُنْ, like it never happened, like it never occurred. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, especially about the affair of al-fawahish, when these things become known, and the person, they say that they feel sorry for them, they feel compassion for them, so on and so forth, and so they're not going to do anything about it to prevent it from occurring again. That's what the hudud are. The things that, the word had comes from the word al-mana, to prevent something. We need to prevent it from happening again. When somebody sees somebody being lashed, when somebody sees a hand coming off, when somebody sees somebody being executed for selling narcotics and the likes of these things, and they're going to think twice about doing the thing that they saw somebody being punished for. They don't want that to happen to them. These are preventative measures that happen in the lands of Islam under the Muslim authority. That ayah comes one narration better for, each head is better for the earth than 40 nights of rainfall. It's more beneficial for the earth than 40 nights of rainfall, that a single punishment from Allah's punishments be established. And so concerning these affairs, a person is not to be taken with ra'fa, and he feels sorry for them. Of course he feels sorry for the aaseen, but if he really felt sorry for them, he would try to do something to prevent it from happening again. He would try to do something to advise, to order the good and forbid the evil, to make sure that somebody who can do something knows something about it, like the parents. And in some sorts of behaviors, some types of behaviors, and perhaps the relevant people in the community, and he will have the ability to speak to some of the youth and to advise them without going into detail about what they are doing, just to say that they may be going down the wrong track. So maybe somebody needs to sit down with them and advise them the likes of these things. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, فَإِنَّ هَذَا الْبَابَ مَبْنَهُ عَلَى الْمَحَبَّةِ وَالشَّهْوَةِ وَرَأَفَةِ الَّتِي يُزَيِّنُهَا الشَّيْطَانُ بِانْعِطَافِ الْقُلُوبِ عَلَى أَهْلِ الْفَوَاحِشِ وَرَأَفَةِ بِهِمْ. He said the entirety of this affair, of this subject matter, is built upon a person having supposed love for a person, or having lust for a person, or having sympathy or compassion for a person, that is beautified by the shaitan so that they feel compassionate, that their hearts feel compassionate towards those people who commit al-fahisha, and they feel sympathy for them. حتى يدخل كثير من الناس بسبب هذه الآفة في الدياثة وقلة الغيرة, to the point that many people, because they feel sorry for somebody, or they feel that they love somebody too much to say something, as is found in the words of al-Dhahabi that we read, that they fall into ad-diyatha, that they fall into this pimpery-like behavior, this pimpish-like behavior, where they have no ghayrah, where they have no jealousy and no protectiveness over their womenfolk. وَقِلَّةِ الْغَيْرَةِ إِذَا رَأَى مَنْ يَهْوَى بَعْضَ الْمُتَّصِلِينَ بِهِ أَوْ يُعَاشِرُهُ عِشْرَةً مُنْكَرَةً, when they see people dealing with those that they are close to, their family members and so on and so forth, in a way that is munkar, and they see them intermingling with them and dealing with them in a way that is munkar, and they say nothing and they do nothing. So you know somebody is communicating in an improper way through the text message. You don't take the cell phone away from the child. You don't take the measure to go and speak to that young man and who is communicating in an improper way to your daughter. Or if the sister is a single mother and doesn't have any male relatives who could speak to him, I need to pursue somebody in the community who could do that. I need to ask this person in a wise way, yet a firm and strong way, to go about things in the right way. To go about things in the right way, and to stop communicating and flirting with the girl and so on and so forth. So he said, when they see somebody who has desire towards بعض المتصلين به, some people that are connected to him from his family and so on and so forth, or they deal with them عشرة منكرة, and in a way that is munkar, أو رأى له محبة أو ميلا أو صبابة وعشقا ولو كان ولده رأف به وظن أن هذا من رحمة الخلق ولين الجانب به ومكارم الأخلاق. Or they see that another person is in love or is infatuated and obsessed with someone else in an improper way, with your family member, or your family member being obsessed with somebody in an improper way. He said, even if it may be a person's own child, رَأَفَ بِهِ, he says, I'm going to be gentle with him, and I'm going to have sympathy, I'm going to deal with him with kindness. I'm not going to be firm. I'm not going to really say anything to alienate my child and the likes of these things. These are the dara'ib. These are the taxes that we really pay by living in the West. These are the taxes that we really pay by living in the West. How many of our scholars have we heard say that they fear for us living in the West, losing our sons and losing our daughters when they become of that certain age, and they feel as though I'm an adult and I'm free to do as I please, and they leave from the home and they do whatever they feel like doing, because they had su'at tarbiyah, they had bad upbringing or no upbringing. They were raised by the television, and they were raised by the destructive school system and the curriculums of the public schools and of the schools of the Hizbiyyin and so on and so forth, that take these affairs very lightly, are free mixing and intermingling in these sorts of affairs. He said, and they think that by doing so that they are having mercy with the creation, and that they are being lenient towards them, and that they are having good character by doing that. وَإِنَّمَا ذَلِكَ دِيَاثَةٌ وَمَهَانَةٌ وَعَدَمُ دِينٍ وَضَعْفُ إِيمَانٍ. But that is nothing but diyatha. That is nothing but a person being a weakling, a spineless, sniveling coward, a dayyuth, and he has no jealousy, no protectiveness, no real concern for his family. And that is nothing but degradation and humiliation. And that is nothing but a lack of religiosity. And that is nothing but a weakness of faith. وَإِعَانَةٌ عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. That is nothing but i'ana على الإثم والعدوان, helping that person upon sin and transgression. وَتَرْكٌ لِلتَّنَاهِ عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ, and abandoning, forbidding evil and lewdness. وَتَدْخُلُ النَّفْسُ بِهِ فِي الْقِيَادَةِ الَّتِي هِيَ أَعْظَمُ الدِّيَاثَةِ. And a person goes from just being spineless and not having protectiveness, to being a full-blown dayyuth, to being a full-blown qawwad, a full-blown pimp, a facilitator. They become a facilitator for the munkarat, which is even worse than a diyatha. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, concerning the statement of a person being helped upon sin and transgression, Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned that the doorways, the gateways of sins and disobedience are three types. This is information that we should know, we should have heard before. I'll give you one of them and see if you could give me the other two. The first is al-khatarat, the thoughts. That through what a person takes in their eyes and ears and becomes a part of their thoughts, that this is a doorway to sin and disobedience. And examples that we could give of that today are many. After that, remember, who knows what the other two are? That's part of the thoughts. That the thoughts are in the heart. So ideas is part of thoughts. There are three things. Al-khatarat, the thoughts. The second is al-khutuwat, the footsteps, a person's whereabouts. And the third is I'm drawing a blank actually. Something I'm missing. Al-lahadat, al-khatarat, wal-khutuwat. Al-lahadat is what a person looks at and what they hear. Al-khatarat is the thoughts. And then the third is the khutuwat, right? The third is the whereabouts, the footsteps of a person. The footsteps of a person. So we live in a time of breakthroughs in technology for all of these things. What a person looks at, now you have all these things. Instagram, people are taking, you saw the very beneficial article of our brother Abu Hassan Malik about the narcissism of the selfie, right? The selfie. It's a narcissistic society. Somebody wants to take a picture of themselves no matter what they're doing, right? Brothers, please stop taking selfies of yourselves in the masjid. Barakallahu feekum. Inshallah, nobody's sitting here is taking selfies of themselves in the masjid, but we've seen selfies in the Salaf. We've seen selfies that were taken of people in the Salafi Masajid. Right? I'm about to drop. I'm about to bump my head. Take a picture of a brother in sajda. Allah give him the Jannah. Stop taking pictures in the masjid. Stop taking pictures. Stop taking pictures. Stop taking pictures definitely in the masjid. So al-lahadat, what is looked at and what is even heard. Al-khatarat is the time of al-infitah al-alami. The whole world has been opened up with technology. And a person, they can communicate with people on the other side of the planet. And a person can pick and choose the people who are most like-minded and build their own community in a virtual reality. So instead of the people that surround him on a normal basis, that will be his colleagues or his worker, and his co-workers or his family and so on and so forth, and a person, they can choose the people that they want to give the most focus and attention to. So a person may be around their colleagues and their co-workers and their family, so on and so forth, but they have a device in their hand and they're really with the people that they identify the most with. They identify the most with these people. They say that there were two inventions at the end of they say that in the 20th century there were two inventions that were the cause, technology-wise, of the spread of fatherlessness. People having children out of wedlock. And they were the invention of the automobile and the invention of the telephone. The invention of the automobile and the invention of the telephone. So now people, they have all sorts of devices of self-destruction. And the parents, they become facilitators. Instead of coming up with a plan, instead of coming up with any understanding of how your child is going to get married, who they're going to marry, what they're going to do with their future, so on and so forth, and guiding them in the right direction. The parents are absentee parents. They are also in virtual reality. The children are in virtual reality. Everybody lives in a make-believe fantasy world. And they don't order the good, they don't forbid the evil, and they help each other in al-fahsha wal-munkar. And they have weakness of faith. And this causes, as Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he says here, causes a person to leave from just being spineless to being a full-blown qawwad. And he is a facilitator. He is a person who is enabling. He is an enabler for the fahish and the munkar to occur. And this is where we'll stop today. And tomorrow, bi'idhnillahi tabarak wa ta'ala, we'll continue reading from some of the advices of the scholars of Islam concerning the importance of jealousy concerning one's womenfolk, and identifying the role of the men and the woman, and the mention of some of what is mentioned by the scholars as regards the women who behave like men and the men who behave like women. And the woman who was kharraja wallaja, and she always wants to leave from the home and go about and do what the men do, and so on and so forth. And she doesn't acknowledge the right of her Lord and the right of her family and the right of her husband upon her, and the likes of these things. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from all of the munkarat, the kaba'ir and the sara'ir al-dhunub, and the major sins and the minor sins. Hada wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. We have about 15 minutes to the adhan. Go ahead.